with any individual in human-created languages. However, this does not mean that the greatest creator is distant from humanity. The greatest creator, 别人不信,我信. Others may doubt, I believe. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. A friend from Tianjin visited my office the day before yesterday and inquired about matters related to space and time. I asked him why he was interested in such questions. He said, "Not long ago, I had a dream. My grandfather appeared and told me that after using the toilet, he suddenly fainted before standing up, unable to get up. He said he was leaving and urged us to live well while he waited. The next day, my father called from China, saying my grandfather had passed away. He told me my grandfather had collapsed and passed away while using the toilet. I found it quite strange. How could my dream about my grandfather match the actual events? What's going on with time and space?" I asked him if he had watched the Life-Genuine section on Chinese soul, and he mentioned that he had seen some of it. However, due to the extensive content, he hadn't watched it all. I responded, "Your grandfather left this physical space and entered another dimension of life. Due to his concern for you, he conveyed his inner thoughts to you through a dream before departing from this space. This is entirely normal. Your elevated spiritual sensitivity allowed you to connect with your grandfather's thoughts. There's nothing mysterious about it." Taking the opportunity, I asked, "Do you believe in the immortality of the soul and in the existence of other dimensions of life apart from our current space?" He replied, "While others may doubt, I believe." Belief, such a mysterious and profound word. Peter, a disciple of Jesus, walked on water because of belief, but almost drowned when he saw the wind and waves and lost belief. Those with belief are blessed. Those without belief are miserable. Those with belief have roots. Those without belief are like floating duckweeds. Those with belief know how to navigate life. Those without belief randomly fly like headless flies. Those with belief are humble. Those without belief are arrogant. Those with belief have a bright future. Those without belief have a bleak one. What to believe in? Believe in facts. Believe in what you see, hear, and experience. Whom to believe in? Believe in Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Laozi, and the sages. What to believe in? Believe in the negative universe information sensed by your spiritual perception. Whom to believe in? Believe in the greatest creator. Many people doubt everything, do not believe in anything, lack faith in themselves, and have no confidence. Some start with belief, but, swayed by phenomena and others' opinions, lose faith even in facts. They cannot sustain their faith, vacillating between belief and doubt until they believe in nothing. Some seem to believe but harbor doubts, so when confronted with storms, they lose their foothold and are devoured by demons. Some people's faith is mere lip service, steering with the wind, changing with their immediate self-interest. In reality, their hearts lack genuine belief. Today, they believe when it's advantageous, and tomorrow, they do not when it's not. How can one live without faith? What is the purpose of such a life? Where is it headed? Job in the Bible is an exemplar of faith. Apostle Paul is an exemplar of faith, and several bodhisattvas in Buddhism have also set examples of faith for us. Many believers in Islam are also exemplars of faith. Without faith, one cannot stand firm. I said to my friend, "Your dream aligning with reality can be considered a revelation. While the world may harbor doubts, you cannot afford to. Doubting would betray your grandfather's wishes and the revelation." In the end, my friend reiterated, "While others may harbor doubts, I remain steadfast in my belief." Friend, do you also believe? 于无声处响惊雷. Shocking thunderclap in silence. Xiefeng. August 16, 2005. Translation edited by Qin Yu. That was a day on the Christmas of the previous year. I was driving a van, transporting 8 employees from my store to a fast food restaurant and bar I owned, about 10 kilometers away, to celebrate Christmas. Just as we pulled up to the entrance of the bar, we heard a clack sound, and the left front wheel dropped, tilting the vehicle to the left. Quickly checking, I discovered the axle supporting the left wheel had completely snapped. After a week, I had the car towed to Sadie Motor for repairs. The shop owner, holding the fractured axle, asked me, "Why didn't the car overturn?" I replied, "The axle broke only as the car came to a stop. That's why it didn't overturn." That British gentleman sighed, saying, "A miracle, the greatest creator's protection. In such a situation, the car should have flipped, causing injuries. How did it break only after the car stopped?" He then pointed at the fracture and explained, "This axle began breaking at least half a year ago. It didn't snap suddenly but deteriorated bit by bit. Its complete fracture was inevitable. It should have happened during driving. You're very lucky." Initially, I didn't care for the analysis, but after hearing his explanation, I felt terrified. I usually drive fast. If the axle had snapped during high-speed driving, not only would everyone in the car have been in danger, but other vehicles around might also have faced disaster. That was close. The axle had been gradually breaking for months, yet I remained oblivious. Thunder lurked in silence. Disasters hid within calm waters. Unseen perils surfaced unnoticed amid the excitement and joy. How can one prevent such occurrences? Since then, I have started contemplating the latent crises within nature. Earthquakes, typhoons, volcanic eruptions, tornadoes, plagues, wars, floods, landslides, droughts, pestilence, sandstorms, accidents, plane crashes, collapsed walls, dam breaches, land subsidence, strokes, sudden power outages, water stoppages, social unrest, riots, and other unforeseen calamities all exhibit early signs of axle fractures. People typically care about results or consequences, rarely focusing on the gradual axle deterioration leading up to them. People often live in regret, never considering early checks and preventive measures. Furthermore, since axle fractures happen gradually and invisibly, they are easily overlooked. Even if someone predicts a disaster in advance, not many believe it. "This guy's exaggerating, talking nonsense, or has ulterior motives." What's the solution? Think about Noah building his ark on the mountaintop. How many ridiculed and mocked him? Currently, Life Genuine has faced and will continue to face ridicule, mockery, and cold indifference from many. Among all these axle fractures, my focus is on the fate and future of humanity. It seems that the greatest creator, God Jesus, and Buddha Shakyamuni have particularly favored me, granting me the key to unlock the treasury of wisdom and authority to establish Life Genuine, bestowing upon me the honor of harvesting crops. People, I know you will not easily believe me. In Jesus' era, how many truly believed in Jesus? How many truly believed in Buddha Shakyamuni? How many truly understood Muhammad and Laozi? Many talk about the greatest creator, Allah, the ancestor of Buddha, Emperor Chakra, the heavens, or the divine, but how many genuinely follow them? Many speak of Tao manifests itself in nature. What is nature? Do you understand? Some claim that Xiefeng is creating the greatest creator, that he aspires to be its spokesperson. Oh, ignorant ones, can the greatest creator be created? Is Xiefeng's, the chapter of the greatest creator, creating the greatest creator? Who in human history has explained the greatest creator as comprehensively as the chapter of the greatest creator? Thunder and silence exists. If you don't believe it, just wait and see. But I'll caution everyone in advance. Do not come running later, shouting, "Greatest creator, now I believe," after the axle breaks. By then, it'll be too late, and no one can save you. 上帝对人类的审判随时随地进行. The greatest creator's judgment of humanity occurs at all times and in all places. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. All major religions mention Judgment Day, or the judgment by the king of hell in the netherworld. However, after exploring the 36-dimensional spaces, I haven't discovered a designated place for judgment. The greatest creator has never assigned a fixed date for a collective or individual judgment of humanity. So, how did this notion of a judgment day originate? One reason could be a mistaken understanding of divine teachings. Those who recorded the words of gods or Buddhas might have misinterpreted the meanings or added their own cleverness and wisdom when translating the divine words. The other reason is that people mainly focus on outcomes, neglecting the processes that lead to them. People see death as life's conclusion, ignoring the process itself. Consequently, they believe that death marks life's end, and after death, souls face a final judgment. Such beliefs are erroneous. The concept of Judgment Day blasphemes the greatest creator, confuses humanity, and exacerbates life's hardships and misfortunes. It's a kind of magical power, a spell, a barrier and hindrance placed within human consciousness. The greatest creator's judgment and selection of humanity, both collectively and individually, occur anytime, anywhere. There is not a final judgment. It's immediate, executed by Tao rather than by gods, Buddhas, or any celestial beings. How does Tao judge people? Up to this point, I've outlined in other articles what Tao is. In the Bible, it says, Tao is the greatest creator. However, there's a meaning not yet revealed. The greatest creator is not Tao. Tao is the greatest creator. The greatest creator is not Tao. How to understand this? Mao Zedong thought is Mao Zedong, but Mao Zedong is not Mao Zedong thought. Wang Mazi's consciousness is Wang Mazi, but Wang Mazi is not consciousness. China's laws represent China, but China is not its laws. Tao manifests itself in nature, means Tao follows the will of the greatest creator. The will of the greatest creator corresponds to the spirit of the greatest creator. Tao and the spirit of the greatest creator are synonymous. Although the meaning of Tao is vast and profound, in this context, Tao is specifically defined as the spiritual law that upholds the orderly functioning of the universe and the cycle of life. Although the Diamond Sutra may not explicitly expound on the concept of Tao, those of superior wisdom who comprehend the sutra would undoubtedly understand that what Shakyamuni Buddha repeatedly elucidates is essentially Tao. All phenomena are illusory. The Dharma cannot be grasped, expressed, nor is it truly Dharma or non-Dharma. What is referred to as the Buddha's Dharma is, in reality, not the Buddha's Dharma. The Dharma is neither real nor unreal. The Dharma is a quality, without high or low. Regarding the Dharma, there is no notion of extinction. That which is referred to as the appearance of the Dharma is, in fact, not the appearance of the Dharma. This is called the appearance of the Dharma. All sages are differentiated by the Dharma of non-attachment. If we purely understand Tao as the greatest creator's law, it might lead us to liken the greatest creator's law to the country's laws. It's easy to regard the greatest creator's law as dead dogma. The laws of the greatest creator, Tao, cannot be fully explained in words. Why? Because the greatest creator's law is spiritual, alive. Laozi and Buddha earnestly imparted to us this layer of meaning regarding Tao. Now we understand. Tao is the spiritual law that sustains the orderly operation of the universe and the cycle of life. So, let's see how Tao judge humanity, both collectively and individually, at any time, in any place. When Chinese people cook, it's inevitable that frying and cooking will lead to the accumulation of grease around the kitchen walls and ceilings. We have to ask whether this layer of grease formed all at once or gradually built up with each instance of frying and cooking. Look inside a smoker's teeth. They turn dark due to smoking. When did this discoloration occur? Not after one cigarette, right? It's the accumulation of repeated smoking. When someone suffers a sudden heart attack or stroke, is it caused by a single instance of low vitality or inadequate blood supply, or an immediate surge of heart fire? Unlikely. Was the sudden earthquake in Tangshan the result of a single tectonic shift? Does the emergence of a dust storm result merely from pulling out a few blades of grass or cutting down a few trees? When someone is abruptly elevated to a central government position, is it purely coincidental? When someone unexpectedly gets a chance to study abroad, is it solely an opportunity? When someone dies in a car accident, is it just misfortune? Aren't there accumulations of various factors behind these events? 10 years to nurture trees, 100 years to cultivate individuals, gathering streams to form rivers, accumulating grievances to lead to disasters. If one consumes 9 steamed buns, does it mean only the 9th bun satisfies hunger, while the preceding 8 are wasted? Is poverty the fault of the heavens? Does it not have its own causes and consequences? Is it unfairness of the greatest creator? When a billionaire is suddenly assassinated, does it lack causes and consequences? Is it the injustice of the heavens? Without the accumulation of quantity, there can be no qualitative transformation. Without personal effort and dedication, there can be no happy life. Without profound contemplation, wisdom is unattainable. Without the manifestation of love, the spirit will not descend. Without spiritual living, one can never enter the higher realms of life. Enumerating the above simple truths, I want to illustrate that the judgment of Tao on humanity, punishment, and reward is happening at all times and everywhere. When thirsty, drink some water to solve the problem immediately. When in need to urinate, release it promptly to make the body comfortable right away. In an instant, there is eternity. Understanding that the judgment of Tao, reward, and punishment is immediate, accurate, impartial, and intangible, a life of wisdom should be lived like this. Regardless of the circumstances, rich or poor, influential or powerless, renowned or scorned by others, the key is to pay attention to one's next action. Avoid punishments from Tao and strive to receive rewards. Specifically, first, believe in the greatest creator and hold gratitude in your heart. Second, listen to the teachings of gods and Buddhas. Do not dismiss them as superstition. The teachings of gods and Buddhas are treasures of wisdom and the guidebook of life, absolutely devoid of any malice. When tempted to engage in corruption, remember that Tao is present. Tao wields a knife in one hand and holds the gem of life in the other. If you engage in corruption, the knife will be at your throat. If you resist corruption, Tao will embed the gem of life in the non-material structure of your life. Likewise, when you have trash in your hands, do you casually throw it on the street, or do you take a few extra steps to put it in the trash bin? When seeking revenge, do you continue to retaliate and harm others, or do you forgive and show mercy? When encountering a prostitute, do you engage in promiscuity, or do you go home to your spouse? When presented with a bargain, do you scheme to take advantage, or do you live an honest life? At the entrance of a casino, do you go in and gamble, or do you turn and leave? When a brother or sister is in trouble, do you do your best to help, or do you abandon them? When faced with conflicting interests, do you compete, or do you yield? When you see the nation on the verge of collapse, do you actively strive to turn the tide, or do you act opportunistically and add fuel to the fire? Sow thorns, and they will obstruct your path. Plant willows, and you will not taste apples. Reap what you sow, gourds from gourd seeds, beans from bean seeds. Divine punishments, though slow, are always sure. With big meshes, yet letting nothing slip through the law of cause and effect is precise to the smallest detail. Human management often leads to numerous mistakes due to insufficient wisdom and spiritual flaws, whereas the operation of Tao never errs. The greatest reward by following Tao is the evolution of your life's non-material structure towards a higher level of life. Understanding this principle, even if someone were to offer us all the treasures in the world, we would remain unmoved. Ascending to this level of life allows one to act effortlessly and tread the path of life smoothly. Tao is judging us at all times and in all places. Let us follow Tao. 花香蝶自来，心境仙人至. Fragrances will attract butterflies to flowers, and pure hearts will be frequented by celestial beings. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Foreign dignitaries visiting often opt for stays in five-star hotels, never considering ordinary roadside inns. Recluses choose picturesque mountains and rivers as their places of cultivation, avoiding desolate and barren lands. Virtuous ministers select noble leaders to serve, while birds choose worthy trees for their nests. Harlots attract promiscuous men, and debauches specialize in tempting women seeking extramarital affairs. Gamblers revel in murky, obscure environments, while sages prefer abodes with serene and fresh air. The environment not only shapes species but is also shaped by them, just as filthy places attract flies, while blooming flowers welcome bees and butterflies. Planting different trees attracts different birds. People who browse the internet daily tend to favor websites that suit their temperament and personality, occasionally visiting other sites. Birds of a feather flock together, and individuals group based on shared interests. Scammers and thieves find it easy to communicate with each other, while sages seek companions with kindred spirits. In the eyes of lovers, beauty lies in the beholder, while evildoers may perceive others as troublemakers. Tyrants often surround themselves with sycophants. In the heart of enlightened beings, there are few living souls in the mundane world. A phoenix avoids barren lands. Enlightened souls do not consort with common folk. Rain avoids deserts. Peonies do not grow in the Gobi Desert. These are common sense, not needing exhaustive illustration. To those who have entered life genuine, I wish to convey, a pure heart attracts celestial beings. Consider this. When in a chaotic place, overwhelmed by countless tasks, it's hard to deeply contemplate a single matter or write a valuable article. Only in tranquility, free from desire, does the mind become sharp and clear, writing effortlessly, a state called, when the mind is calm, ideas flow naturally. A tangled mess is distressing for anyone who encounters it. In a society with disorder, it is difficult to establish a positive moral atmosphere. Noise is irritating, music brings joy, orderly lines are soothing, and the chaotic arrangement of structures in a painting disrupts one's thoughts. Higher quality life tends to favor order, while lower quality life leans toward chaos. Saints and sages would never guide people towards rebellion, rioting, plunder, or bloodshed. Those with distorted mindsets eagerly anticipate chaos in the world, hoping for frequent government overthrows, thinking, why isn't the world in chaos yet? Chaos is good. Amidst the chaos, one can fish in troubled waters and seize power. The virtuous individuals who enter the Life genuine community appreciate order and abhor violence and plunder. Even amid a storm, they remain as the wind blows, the mountain stands still, leaves fall silently. This is not a matter of moral quality, but rather a question of life quality. Disorder ravages life. If scorching sun today, biting cold tomorrow, morning serene, afternoon a deluge, month after month, year after year, can there still be traces of life on this earth? If a person's emotions fluctuate unpredictably, desiring to engage in business today, aspiring for politics tomorrow, thinking of marrying Xiao Wang in the morning, and wanting to wed Lu in the afternoon, month after month, year after year, can they still lead a long life? So, what does a pure heart attract celestial beings mean? A pure heart signifies a state of tranquility and order within the mind. In this state, the heart resembles a babbling brook, a field adorned with blooming flowers, a serene and elegant garden, towering and overlapping mountain ranges, a tranquil lake with rippling waves, a blue sky with drifting clouds, and the vast expanse of the starry night sky. When the heart resides in such a state, life thrives, divine blessings abound, and celestial beings visit. How to achieve purity of heart? In the intermediate stages of cultivation, I discussed that a heart harboring evil thoughts is impure, a deluded and fantasizing mind is impure, an incessantly greedy heart is impure, seeking undue advantage taints the heart, deceitful behavior soils the heart, speaking nonsense stains the heart, insulting gods and Buddhas clouds the heart, disrespecting parents darkens the heart, engaging in conflict, killing, and robbery contaminates the heart, ambiguous thoughts obscure the heart, and impure body defiles the heart. A dirty and disorderly living space pollutes the heart. Deception, fraud, and manipulation sully the heart. Lacking compassion stains the heart. Ignorance and irrationality darken the heart. And blasphemy against the greatest creator stains the heart. A purified state of mind is the realm of celestial beings. Achieving this state naturally attracts the presence of celestial beings for spiritual guidance. A pure heart attracts celestial beings. The words spoken by Jesus, Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Laozi all emanate from a pure state of mind. Attaining purity of heart enables one to tap into the wisdom of Buddhas and celestial beings. Understanding the teachings of Jesus, Buddha, and Laozi becomes as effortless as turning one's hand because, as the saying goes, fragrances attract butterflies to flowers, and pure hearts are frequented by celestial beings. 无能为力需外力. When powerless, seek external help. Xiefeng, May 30th, 2021. Translation edited by Chinyo. The tender branches of the rose bushes in front of the guest rooms have grown to a length of 2 inches, while those by the roadside are just starting to sprout. Why? I had always thought it was due to temperature, The rose bushes in front of the guest rooms are sheltered from the wind, resulting in slightly higher temperatures, while those by the roadside are constantly exposed to the wind, leading to lower temperatures. This morning, when I finally got around to clearing the weeds next to the roadside rose bushes, I realized it should have been done earlier. As I cleared the weeds, I discovered that their roots had deeply penetrated the rose bushes, particularly a type of weed resembling alfalfa, which had grown vigorously, with roots extending more than 3 inches and a well-developed root system. Along with other grasses, they not only tightly wrapped around the rose bushes, but also made the soil extremely compact and impermeable. It turns out that the weak growth of the roadside rose bushes was mainly caused by the weeds, not the temperature. I cleared the weeds around the rose bushes in front of the guest rooms more than 20 days ago and loosened the soil, resulting in vigorous growth. However, due to the failure to timely clear the weeds, the roadside rose bushes lacked energy and their growth was weak. While clearing the weeds around the rose bushes, I realized a truth. If there is no powerful external force to help the rose bushes remove the weeds competing for energy, although the rose bushes will not die, their growth will definitely be weak, and they probably won't even produce a few bright flowers. The revelation is, when powerless, seek external help. Many people in the world are like the rose bushes by the roadside, trapped in difficulties. Without the intervention and assistance of external forces, they will never be able to escape their predicament. The outcome is like that of the 6-member young Galen family who committed suicide. Even though many people continue to struggle to survive in difficult circumstances, they live without dignity, confidence, hope, or joy. So, where does external help come from? There are many factors that constitute external help, but the most fundamental and effective one is the greatest creator. For example, for the rose bushes I nurture, the only reliable external help is me because I am the one nurturing and caring for them. Similarly, as human beings are created by the greatest creator is looking after them. They rely on the greatest creator, their ancestor, just as the rose bushes can only rely on me, their caretaker. When we find ourselves in difficulties, instead of praying for other external forces to help us overcome them, we should rely on the greatest creator. Whether the greatest creator sends a small boat, a speedboat, an airplane, or mobilizes other more powerful people or factors to help us out of difficulties, it is all part of the arrangement of the Tao. Zero Du Qi Sir. Revelation of 0 degree. Xiefeng. March 4, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Living in the northern part of Canada, there's a particular sensitivity to 0 degrees. If the temperature remains at or below 0 degrees Celsius, the snow won't melt. But once the temperature exceeds 0 degrees, even reaching just 1 degree above zero, the melting of ice and snow begins. 0 degrees is a turning point. Below zero is solid, while above zero is liquid. I have a cold storage room where the temperature is maintained at 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. This helps prevent food from rotting and being damaged by freezing. However, whenever the outdoor temperature drops to over -30 degrees Celsius, if I'm not careful, the temperature in the cold storage room can drop below zero. Once it reaches 0 degrees Celsius or below, most of the preserved vegetables will freeze and become inedible. 0 degrees is a sign of life or death. Above zero means life. Below zero is death. In physics, there's a term called the critical point, which is the point at which a qualitative change occurs in a substance. Similarly, in the realm of the mind and psychology, there's also a critical point. For example, when you insult or criticize someone, once your insults, criticisms, or accusations exceed the recipient's threshold, they will become angry, even violent. When mental pressure exceeds the threshold one can bear, a person may become depressed or even contemplate suicide. Once the development of something surpasses the critical point, 0 degrees, a qualitative change occurs. When an animal's consciousness surpasses the critical point, it becomes human. When a human's consciousness surpasses the critical point, they either become like animals or become immortals or Buddhas. This insight into 0 degrees reveals a law. Regardless of how many years one practices cultivation, if the perfection and transformation of life have not exceeded the critical point, they won't see any qualitative change. Even after tens of thousands of years of cultivation, if one's life evolution remains below the critical point, they will still be the same person. They won't become immortals or Buddhas. Therefore, many cultivators give up halfway because they can't see any results after years of cultivation, feeling discouraged and lost, and they stop practicing. The fundamental reason is that they haven't exceeded the critical point. Perhaps they were just one step away from it, but unfortunately, they didn't persevere, which is regrettable. Fruits fall off when ripe. If the stem doesn't fall, it's because the fruit is still growing. As long as the fruit is still growing, it's not considered ripe, and it hasn't surpassed the critical point. As long as the fruit isn't ripe and hasn't exceeded the critical point, the stem won't fall. Once the fruit ripens, the stem will surely fall. All things hover around the 0-degree point, sometimes below zero, sometimes above zero, constituting the cycle of life and death. If it remains below zero, it's dead. If it stays above zero, it's alive. If it perpetually remains above zero, it lives forever in paradise. Why does the greatest creator reside in the world of 0 degrees? Because the greatest creator is the pivot and origin of all movement and change. All transformations in the nature of life must pass through the greatest creator, the 0-degree point. Without passing through the greatest creator, the nature of life cannot undergo any changes. This is why we must reverence the greatest creator and follow the path of the greatest creator. 釜底抽薪是修炼成仙的最低成本途径. Pulling out the firewood from under the cauldron is the lowest cost path to immortal cultivation. Xiefeng. September 10, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Recently, I received an insight. The cold storage door at the headquarters of Life-Genuine in Canada was difficult to open and close. It seemed that the ground was rising. With every rise, it blocked the door's movement. So, I filed the bricks on the ground multiple times. Each filing made the door slightly easier to open, although it still remained stiff. I even decided to call in professionals from a refrigeration company to address the issue. Not long ago, my son came to my place. I explained the problem with the cold storage door to him and asked if he could solve it. After carefully observing the situation, he proceeded to inspect the basement. He proposed 2 solutions. One was to remove all the floor tiles under the cold storage door and lower the height of the wooden boards underneath, while the other was to address the humidity problem in the basement. He found that the reason the floor tiles under the cold storage door had risen was due to excessive basement humidity. This humidity caused the wood beneath the tiles to swell. When I asked which solution could permanently solve the problem, he said it would be best to address the root cause by thoroughly resolving the high humidity in the basement. Otherwise, the problem would persist in the long term. It's worth noting here that the Life-Genuine headquarters in Canada is constructed entirely of wood. Now that the root of the problem was identified and removing the firewood from under the cauldron was the best solution to permanently resolve the issue, I decided to eliminate the high humidity in the basement. So, I sent my son to town to buy a dehumidifier. After the dehumidifier ran for 24 hours, the cold storage door became much easier to operate. 3 days later, the cold storage door was opening and closing smoothly. The phenomenon with the cold storage door led to an insight. Pulling out the firewood from under the cauldron is the lowest cost path to solving problems. For example, in various marital difficulties, these problems have persisted for thousands of years without resolution, despite attempts to address them through moral, ethical, social, or emotional teachings and constraints. In such cases, the most cost-effective way to eliminate marital problems is simply not to get married. As the saying goes, it is easy to have good relationships with everyone if we do not ask any favor from them. I would not care about the price of wine if I did not drink it. I don't drink, therefore, whether a bottle of Maodai sells for 300 or 30,000, I couldn't care less. Similarly, if someone feels that being a civil servant is restrictive and leads to poor relationships, the best way to address this annoyance is not to become a civil servant but to start a business. Likewise, if someone feels that the United States is not good or safe, the solution is simple. Leave the United States. If a company is plagued with numerous problems and the common people are struggling, the best way to address this issue is not to establish various regulations and legal provisions, nor is it to rely on moral teachings and various expert opinions to deceive people, and certainly not to increase punishment and fire more people. Instead, it is to directly replace the leader. History has proven that the leader is the core guarantee of the people's happiness and social stability. If this core is not functioning, replacing it will lead to a complete transformation at the lowest cost. So, what is the lowest cost path to becoming celestial beings? The answer is eliminating selfishness and ego. Without removing selfish desires and ego attachment, the path to becoming celestial beings becomes unreachable. 天才之路, the path of genius. Xiefeng, September 12, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Elon Musk is undoubtedly a genius. Had Elon Musk remained in South Africa, would he have attained his current achievements? Unlikely, as South Africa lacks the nurturing environment necessary for such genius to thrive. Suppose Elon Musk were Chinese and lived in China. Would he dare to propose plans like colonizing Mars and creating the Starlink project? No, he wouldn't. At this point, he might have already been confined to a mental institution. The fact tells us that geniuses exist everywhere, but without the right environment and nurturing soil for growth, all geniuses will become waste. Therefore, finding the suitable soil and environment for one's growth is the primary choice on the path of genius. Christopher Columbus, who is credited with discovering the New World, was undoubtedly also a genius. Suppose Columbus's wife were still alive at the time. Would Columbus still dare to venture out to sea? The responsibility of providing for the family alone is demanding. How could one then find the time or inclination to embark on a perilous voyage? Additionally, supposing his wife possessed a narrow-minded and jealous nature, would she agree to his maritime adventures? She might ask, "Don't you love me anymore? Are you already planning to abandon me for another woman? How will I and the children survive if you don't return?" No, absolutely not. I refuse to let you go on a sea expedition. An unreasonable wife might assert, "As long as I'm alive, you'll remain at home and not go anywhere." I firmly believe that marriage and family bury half of the world's geniuses. Therefore, the second rule on the path of genius is not to be bound by trivial matters and mundane people. Hua Tuo, Li Shizhen, Bian Ke, Sun Simiao, Zhang Zhongjing, and others are undoubtedly medical geniuses. Suppose these famous doctors lived in today's China. In summary, soil, environment, freedom, and fortune are the path of genius, and none of these four elements can be lacking. This suggests suppose these famous doctors lived in today's China. They would be considered quacks. They would have either been detained on charges of practicing medicine without a license or forced to give up their medical practice. This means that for geniuses to fully utilize their innate talents, the timing of birth and growth must be appropriate, as even exotic flowers cannot survive in winter. In summary, soil, environment, freedom, and fortune are the path of genius, and none of these four elements can be lacking. This suggests that for every 10 geniuses, 9 go unrecognized or wasted. Without the appropriate soil and environment, geniuses will perish. Without a free living environment, geniuses cannot fulfill their ambitions, and unfavorable timing of birth and growth will suppress and oppress geniuses. People who can become celestial beings or Buddhas must be geniuses. Otherwise, how could they possess such high spirituality and perseverance? Since only geniuses can become celestial beings or Buddhas, the path to becoming a celestial being or a Buddha must also follow the path of genius, which includes suitable soil and environment, freedom to express one's personality and talents, and opportune timing. Therefore, to become a celestial being or Buddha, one must first seek and choose the soil and environment that can lead to celestial being and Buddha. Secondly, one must break free from all constraints on one's freedom. As for fortune, it is something beyond one's control. One can only leave it to fate. 门缝的启示, the revelation of the door gap. Xiefeng, December 21, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Is there a gap between the door and the door frame? Even if the door fits snugly into the frame, there will still be a gap. When the temperature inside and outside the room is not significantly different, standing inside by the door, one may not feel any gap at all. However, When there is a substantial temperature difference between the inside and outside, standing by the door inside, one can feel the biting cold wind rushing in through the gap like a powerful stream of air. With the outside temperature below -30 degrees Celsius and the inside temperature around 15 to 16 degrees Celsius, even though there is no wind blowing outside, the huge temperature difference between inside and outside causes the cold air outside to rush in through the door gap like a hurricane. A pinhole-sized hole is not noticeable most of the time, but when there is a significant temperature difference between inside and outside, one can feel a continuous jet of cold air entering through the pinhole. This gives us some insight. Even between two people who are very close, there are still gaps. When the demands of two people are significant and cannot be satisfied by each other, cold air will enter through the gap. This is probably the fundamental reason why extramarital affairs continue to occur, let alone when the relationship between two people is not very intimate. The same applies to relationships between friends. When the temperature difference between them is not significant, friends can support each other through thick and thin. However, once the temperature difference increases, betrayal becomes inevitable. From this, we can draw a conclusion. In all relationships, whether between nations, individuals, or between humans and society or nature, harmony will prevail only by maintaining a balance of temperature between each other. Once the balance is disrupted, conflicts and disputes will arise. The greater the temperature difference, the greater the destructive power and severity of disasters. For example, in a husband-wife relationship, if both partners have similar abilities and there are no significant income disparities, the relationship is generally stable. However, once one party's abilities and income far exceed the others, there will be significant gaps in the marital relationship, and divorce may occur at any time when conditions are ripe. Similarly, in the relationships between nations, why are the relations between countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada relatively close and strong, while countries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, and Venezuela can come together in special circumstances? The reason is that the temperature difference between them is not significant. Once the temperature difference is stark, cold wars and hot wars become inevitable. This further suggests that to maintain harmonious and intimate relationships with others, the first step is to maintain a basic balance of temperature between each other. For peace and prosperity in the world, countries need to interact with each other and avoid isolationism. To prevent extreme cold, heat waves, droughts, and floods in nature, humans must maintain a balance with nature, and human exploitation of nature must not exceed the limits it can bear. Once exceeded, extreme heat, extreme cold, droughts, floods, and various viruses will emerge and wreak havoc. 利益越高路越宽. The higher the aspiration, the wider the path. Xiefeng. October 20th, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. In places where competition is fierce, survival conditions become harsher and relationships between people become more tense, making the acquisition of survival resources more brutal. The simpler and easier the pathway to obtain survival resources, the more intense the competition becomes. For a job that anyone can do, the more sought after it becomes, the fiercer the competition. For a job that only 1 in 10 people can do, the competition is relatively less fierce. Then, for a job that only 1 in 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, or 1,000,000,000 people can do, we find that the fewer people who can do it, the less competitive it is because there are not many people competing with oneself. For example, a surface coal mining company recruiting miners will attract many applicants. However, the Mariana Trench Exploration Company, due to the high difficulty involved, would likely struggle to find more than a few suitable candidates worldwide. A government unit recruiting civil servants, hiring 10 of them, may attract hundreds or thousands of applicants, making the competition fierce. But if Elon Musk is recruiting someone capable of controlling the global nuclear weapons button to prevent nuclear-armed countries from launching nuclear weapons, probably only very few people can be found in the world at present. In 1997, I went to the Harare labor market to recruit a male flower worker and a female worker for laundry, cleaning, and hygiene. When the car arrived at the market, before I could even get out of the car, many people surrounded it. There were many people who wanted to do flower work and household chores. Later, When I went to the market to recruit shop assistants, the situation was the same. Then, when I opened a bar and tried to recruit a bartender, there were very few suitable candidates. Later, when I opened a nightclub and tried to recruit a DJ mixer, I couldn't find one. I had to hire a GJ mixer instead. From this, we discovered a small secret, which is that if you want to find a job with low competition and high income in society, you must have special talents and be different from others. Without putting in effort and undergoing rigorous training during our upbringing, we can only compete with many others for our livelihood. This involves the question of the meaning of life. That is, from an early age, we must consider what kind of work or career to engage in. Each person has 24 hours a day, and where we allocate our time and energy is a major factor in whether we will be happy or not in our lives. Now, there are thousands of job types in front of us. Which one will you choose? For example, shining shoes, making shoes, repairing shoes, herding sheep, herding horses, farming, gardening, being a shop assistant, a police officer, a taxi driver, a delivery person, a grocery store manager, a restaurant owner, a teacher, a civil servant, a worker, a soldier, a workshop technician, an engineer, a professor, a painter, a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, a musician, a performer, an entrepreneur, a writer, and so on. We find that the faster the income comes, the simpler and more accessible the job is, and the more people can do it, the more intense the competition will be. For example, shining shoes on the street can bring income on the same day. Working as a laborer, a teacher, or a civil servant can bring income in the same month, and farming and gardening can bring income in the same season. However, to become a professor, an engineer, or an entrepreneur requires upfront investment, effort, and more investment. In conclusion, to avoid fierce competition and maximize income, one must first invest. The longer the investment period, the fewer competitors there will be, and the greater the benefits will be. At this point, we find that due to the need for survival or the pressure of survival, most people have given up investing and turned to seeking quick profits. They go where they can make money quickly and engage in work that can bring immediate gains. As a result, the number of elite individuals in all walks of life is decreasing, while outstanding individuals are becoming fewer and fewer, and the number of ordinary people is increasing. Everyone is familiar with the story of Mencius' mother moving 3 times. Why did Mencius' mother move 3 times? It was actually for her son's aspiration. In the end, because of his high aspirations, Mencius became a great thinker who has been passed down through the ages. The higher the aspiration, the more one must endure long-term solitary struggles. One must endure rigorous training and withstand the temptations of money, power, fame, and beauty. Additionally, one must persevere in focusing one's mind and spirit on one's ideals. Finally, one must invest one's time and energy in one's own career. Do not be hasty for quick success. Those who are hasty for quick success will never become outstanding figures. So, what is the highest aspiration? Whether it is herding sheep, shining shoes, farming, or becoming a professor, a doctor, or a financier, the ultimate result is death. It's considered good to live safely until the age of 70 or 80, thinking about life's brevity, tossing around, and eventually becoming a handful of ashes in a bone ash box, thinking of such an end. All hopes are dashed. Therefore, we find that becoming a celestial being is the highest aspiration in life. Not only can one enjoy the joys of life to the fullest, but there is also a wonderful future ahead. Do you want to become a celestial being? 来世不落帝王家的启示. The revelation of not born into a royal family in the next life. By Xiefeng. November 25, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. Looking through history, countless individuals born into royal families have met tragic fates, with many facing massacres or even complete annihilation. Even those who ascend to the throne, how many of them meet peaceful ends? Fathers and sons vie for power. Family members turn against each other, and siblings are torn apart. Once ousted from power, those associated with the emperor are often massacred. If they are imprisoned or exiled instead of being completely slaughtered, it could be seen as a result of past blessings. Not only do those born into royal families suffer, but individuals born in war-torn regions also face hardships. Moreover, being born into a certain family can lead to being implicated and even result in the massacre of staff and servants. Similarly, joining a particular organization, be it a political party, religious group, or organized crime syndicate, can lead to dire consequences if it falls from grace, with imprisonment being inevitable. In places where power struggles are fierce, standing with the wrong person or joining the wrong side can have dreadful consequences. Throughout history, soldiers from both sides have shed blood in battles. But have we ever considered that these soldiers are beloved children of mothers, cherished husbands of wives, and respected fathers of children? Why do they engage in mutual slaughter? There is a tale of a criminal who complained to the greatest creator when the ship he was on sank, saying, "Why, to punish just me, did you have to drown over 200 people?" A distant voice from the heavens responded, "It wasn't an easy task to gather over 200 people who were destined to perish, was it?" During an earthquake, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, may perish in an instant. A flood can separate the living from the dead in a village within moments. An airplane crash can cause hundreds of people to vanish without a trace in an instant. Timing, luck, destiny. What do these phenomena teach us? Beneath the glory of power lurk invisible dangers and threats of violence. Beneath the glimmer of wealth hide endless servility and misery. Underneath the extravagance of pleasure lie numerous tears of helplessness and lurking crises. Underneath the allure of beauty lies endless bitterness, endurance, and looming danger. Beneath the radiance of fame hide indescribable impurities and corruption. Beneath the clamor of excitement lie countless disasters, misfortunes, and despair. These give us some insights into how to live our lives. Do not be misled by surface glamour, honor, and wealth. Do not walk towards power, status, wealth, fame, beauty, or excitement. For those who do, inevitable strife and misfortune await. The reverse is the movement of Tao. Walk towards places where crowds are sparse, towards auspiciousness and brightness, towards simplicity and tranquility, towards joy, happiness, freedom, and bliss, towards the path of nature. By doing so, you can minimize disasters and unexpected blows. So, where do you intend to be born in the next life? 摄像头的启示. The Revelation of the Camera. By Xiefeng. February 20th, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. In this era, no matter where you go, there is likely a camera watching you, recording everything you do. This is especially true in important places like banks, jewelry stores, airports, and stations. But don't forget, many homes and even hotel rooms are monitored by cameras. Sometimes it's unimaginable that someone might secretly install a camera in your bedroom to record everything. This phenomenon tells us that no matter where we go, whether there is a camera or not, we must be prepared for the possibility of being watched by countless cameras. We must behave honestly and decently, otherwise, our actions may be captured by others and become irrefutable evidence for blackmail. What does this phenomenon reveal to us? It reveals to us that the sky has eyes, the earth has eyes, everyone has a pair of eyes, there are gods 3 feet above our heads, there is a space called retention information space in the 36-dimensional spaces. This space tells us that everything in the universe is a camera. Our daily words and deeds are meticulously recorded by the retention information space. As long as the universe exists, everything from our past, including a few years ago, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of millions of years ago, is fully recorded, not in photo form, but in documentary form. Many people see their past like watching a serial drama after being hypnotized. Therefore, never do evil. Never have the mentality that if I do this, no one will know, especially when you are alone. Don't think that no one knows what you do. The actual situation is that heaven knows, earth knows, the greatest creator knows, everything knows. So don't sneak around doing bad things. You can't escape the law. Now let's think about another question. Does anyone know every thought in our hearts? Before we get this answer, let's think about whether anyone will know every word we type on our computer and mobile phone. The truth is, as long as our computers and mobile phones are connected to the internet, no matter what content we type on our computers and mobile phones, the network terminal knows, and even records it. We know that every person is connected to the entire universe. So we know that the universe knows all our thoughts and ideas, and they are all recorded. How can the universe know our thoughts and ideas? How does it know our inner activities? It turns out that all our thoughts and activities in our hearts will turn into a frequency wave and be emitted into the universe. And our biological wave color will also change with our inner activities. Even our expressions, emotions, and postures will change with our inner activities. How can the universe not know? The universe knows everything means that Tao will record everything that has happened and is happening in the universe. This means that the greatest creator knows everything. Our every little bit, including inner activities, can't escape the greatest creator's eyes and ears. So we understand the reason why miracles appear when we cry out to the greatest creator for help in times of crisis. We will understand the value and significance of praying or confessing to the greatest creator. So we further understand that our current life situation is all